Okay, just
Action.
a little... Fuck off, you can edit this out later anyway. Just a quick little video of Adam's Workman CQ something gobbledygook Chinese serial number layers. They're all the same. I think, yeah, you got the grizzly number there with my poor handwriting. So this originally in the ways, I think, from the lowest point to the highest had a 27 tenths, so just over 2.5 thou difference. The bottom of it, we've scraped in. It was sort of curved where the apron bolted and the rear shear bolted. We can show that later, but that's been scraped in so that in all 4 quadrants, you know, with a tenths indicator, we've got no movement. We can pull that round. So I'll just move that across and no movement at all. I can go to all 3, but not really worth it. So now that this has been scraped, and that was the original plane in which this was ground, and it was ground slightly convex. So now that that's in, we can pretty well measure the waves. Adam's roughed out most of the wear on this. We've still got a low point at 0. And usually when we scrape in these layers, we find the lowest point, do a crosshair, and then we zero our tenths indicator. And while we scrape in the geometry, we always come back to that 0 to re-zero our indicator so that we know we're not getting any false readings. This is on a 3-point stand here. If you want to grab a little video of that. It's 3-point stand, massive block of tool steel. The Noga is sort of the... this wouldn't work with a Chinese indicator, I'll put it that way. But with the Noga, it's awesome with a fine adjust on the base. But if you knock this hard enough, you can get it... you can get a little bit of variation, so you've just got to go back, check your 0 again, but it's pretty repeatable. With the Chinese indicators, you know, you flick to take tension out and they just move around like crazy. It drives out the wall, but Noga, you can get away with it. If not a Noga, just a cheapy solid indicator will work. Anyway, Adam's done a pretty good job. So this here, it's a little smeary, it's all right. So all the highs, we're sort of averaging on the highs of the highs between 0, and there should be a few 2 or 3 tenths around here. Let's have a look. No, 1 tenth, just above 1, 3, what are we, 2, all that sort of realm. There's a little bit of a localized low, because this was actually, this was one of the higher areas. It ended up, I think,
Yeah, this was 7 tenths high, and this was 20 tenths low just here.
Yeah. Oh, well, it worked out that these waves sort of curved in. They were very hollow, but there was a weird high point here. This was high, and then this section was just massively tipped in. So most of that's out now. We got the back of this too. I'm pretty sure that's mostly within. Yeah, we're on 0, 0. What do we got? 0. I might have bumped this. I'll just check the 0 again. Let's come back. Yeah. Oh, no, we're about a tenth low. I mean, you're working with tenths, so you chase your tail a little bit. It's only an import machine. I think this is our high area, so we're about 3 tenths there. So that's the original grind in there. That's got to come down. I mean, the critical thing is, we'll just set this up. This has been scraped in, and it's obviously blued up at the moment to use as the master. Didn't get the highest points per inch on this. Enough, you know, I think probably in the realm of 20 points per inch. Not a great use of the master, but because we've got the plate to use as a reference, it works out all right. But when we assemble this, let's also scrape the top, which is lovely. When we assemble this, the problem we're having is that this corner here, which is the most important, because this is all your tool pressure is obviously on the side with your compound and right above the V-way here. And I'll bring that into contact. Okay, there we go, a bit glary. Originally, even when this was scraped, I didn't actually check it beforehand because he brought the cross slide in the first day. From point to point, we were getting about 2 thou rock, like really bad rock. So basically, the whole cross slide sits in the air effectively, like how it wants to sit on these 3 points, roughly. And then as soon as you go into a cut, this drops very slightly, and you'll probably find that we haven't been able to scrape the saddleways in, which is what I prefer to do first, but you get a drop from that. So this was a major cause of chatter. So now we're completely solid. And if you zoom in, that indicator's not broken, we'll re-zero it. That's, you know, stacking both the saddle, which obviously we're not going off the way interface, we're just going off this surface. We've got no movement at all. I think in this corner we've got about a tenth. Where are we? Yeah, just barely a tenth. That's barely registered. So I think a tenth is about 2.5 micron. So for a small hobby lathe, perfectly acceptable. If anything, a little bit overkill, because when the apron gets bolted, you might find this will pull down a little bit, but bugger all. But I mean, the fact that it was already so low there, and we've brought it down, is just awesome. So we'll probably finish up that video now. I think that's just fine.